You're listening to Evergreen Media Network. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're a podcast on Spreaker as well. Jeannie Roller's my co-host in Indiana. I am in Florida. Jeannie, today we are talking about men not going to the doctor, why they're not going to the doctor, and what the whole story with that is. And you and I were talking about it before we went on air. It's kind of interesting, but I get it. I personally wouldn't want to go to a doctor anyway myself. You know, being a woman just ordinarily, because you don't want to have the interaction. You know, you're not sure, you're scared, you're this, you're that. Whether you're a man or a woman, we really don't want to do it. But I said to you, I think women are more used to going because we're the ones, for the most part, raising the kids, and the kids are going to get sick. Babies are going to get sick. You had the baby, so you do go to some kind of a medical setting for the most part. A lot of people are going to nurse midwives and different things like that now. They kind of shied away from some of the doctor interaction things. But I think we just ordinarily are more used to going to the medical settings than men are, in my opinion. And my mom used to say, my mom was a nurse, she used to say the book about women's diseases and procedures and stuff like that is 10 times as thick as the book for men's procedures and diseases and stuff, because of the different things that women just naturally have in life. So, you know, what do you think about all of this, Jeannie? Why do you think men aren't going to the doctors as much as they should, or, you know, or maybe they want to, or I don't know?
Well, I think for the men I've talked to, most of it is because they don't like how they are treated. They don't like having the female nurse, the female tech, the female receptionist posing as a chaperone during their intimate exams. That those men, they seek medical help, they want it, but they won't get it because they can't get the bodily dignity that they believe they're entitled to. You know, other men may have different reasons, but those are the men that I have been talking with. You know, as with us women, when we go, we can usually choose our doctor, and a lot of us will choose a female OB/GYN, and she will have with her a female nurse, tech, whoever. But when a man goes in for his prostate exam, he may choose the doctor, and the doctor may be male, but the chaperone coming in is most likely 99.9% going to be female. So a lot of men don't like that kind of ambush. And as you said, Cindy, you know, us females, we've had to go early. You were talking about this earlier, to get birth control, which now we come to find out we didn't have to have the pelvic exams all those years to get the birth control. It was just another thing that they were doing that they shouldn't have been doing. So we're more used to it. So I think, and for some men, they I guess they do want to believe that they're strong, and they don't want to be told that they're sick. You know, there's always that, but you know, there are women like that too,
right?
That believe they're strong and they don't want to be sick. So I think there's a lot of different reasons. Men are less likely to give correct information because they don't really want to talk to these strange people about personal things, I think. Whereas I think women tend to be more open, even though a lot of times they aren't really listened to. Women aren't. If they come in with an issue, they're most likely to be dismissed than a man coming in saying, you know, he has this or that.
Yeah, that is true.
So
I mean, I've read that so many times too. That is true. Yeah. That we're hypochondriacs, or where, you know, it's not valid or whatever, or it's just, oh, she's got that, or she's got, you know, whatever kind of thing. They used to say the vapors 100 years ago or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I just think there's a whole host of reasons. I think the medical community, you know, attitude of, well, whoever is in the exam room with you, why should you have a problem with it? Well, you know, as in other parts of our lives, we get to decide who sees or touch our body, except during medical treatment time. And I think a lot of people aren't ready to give up that control.
Yeah,
So.
We've talked about that so many times too. Another thing that I brought up to you too is people won't go because they're afraid, like say you have a lump on your throat or something like that, on your neck or whatever. And people are, and I want to say it should be across the board percentage-wise of people that would be afraid of this, but maybe not. Maybe men more so. That you don't want to hear that that's throat cancer, or you don't want to hear that diagnosis that it's blah, 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 blah. It's a life-ending thing. You're just afraid of what that is. When in reality, if you go earlier for something like that that would be really serious, you're going to get a better prognosis as far as treatment availability and different education you could do, where it's not at the ending stage or a higher stage or whatever, and those options are limited now. So that's not a good thing to overlook. I mean, to me, I would rather hear that I have stage 1 kidney cancer than I want, and I don't know what the stages are. We're not doctors, we're not lawyers. These are our opinions, of course. I'd rather hear that I have, if I'm going to have it, stage 1 kidney cancer than stage 3.5 or stage 4, or however they stage kidney cancer, because there's going to be more options for me. Not that I wish that on anybody or I wish it on myself, but you just have more options, and hopefully it's easier to deal with. Nobody wants to hear any of that stuff. We don't. None of us do, men, women, or whoever. But that's just one thing I think about is if you do catch some of this stuff earlier, you do have a little bit more leeway in trying to figure out what you can do, rather than having your hand forced, if you will. Of this is it. We only got these 2 things we can do, and you should have came in earlier, kind of thing. Nobody wants. I want to hear that less than I want to hear that it's beginning of something or whatever. And that's again too where you want to go in and have routine blood tests, things like that, so they kind of know where you are all along. They can, track it and say, okay, well, all along it's been this, what now this 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is, they're doing blood work and stuff like that. Then, this is different now. Let's look at this kind of thing. I don't want to go to the doctor any day. I'm with you, Jeannie. I don't want to go. A lot of this stuff I've found in my own life, solving different problems and stuff, holistic, for lack of a better word, to me has been better care. We've talked about it on so many podcasts. I know when I ripped my shoulder, the first thing a traditional MD said to me was, well, that's surgery, and that's like one of the worst things to rehab, and whatever. And it went on and on and on, and the money and the time, and I had to buy a chair, and I had to do this. I couldn't sleep here. I would get on and x-rays, and I went and I had acupuncture, and my shoulder is fine. Now, I'm not prescribing that for everyone, but I had talked to people and did my research and said, okay, let me give it a try and see what happens, and it worked. Yeah. And even the ortho people couldn't, they were like, really, that's all you did? And I'm like, well, I did all the exercises, and I did Eastern medicine, I did Western medicine, I did different things, and it worked for me. I'm not telling people to go do that. It's not a miracle cure, but I did my research and it worked. I never did have traditional surgery. So
I think what it comes down to, Cindy, is, in order to get more men into the healthcare industry, we need to make it more patient friendly, and just not say it's patient centered. It needs to actually work better for the patient instead of working better for the medical people, because they have their routine set and they think things shouldn't bother people. They need to realize that things do.
No, I totally agree. That's why a lot of women nowadays will go to nurse midwives and do a different avenue or whatever, because of a lot of the experiences. I know friends, family members of mine that have done that, and they wouldn't go to an MD. I know I want to say there's backup plans to some of this stuff too, but they just feel more comfortable doing that route, and having a baby is a normal thing, if you will. And, animals do it every day. We do it every day. And that just seems to be a more friendlier avenue to go, rather than being in a sterile facility and blah, blah, blah. And I mean sterile as far as, it's not germs or anything, but just, that you don't seem to exist as the person. On that note, stay listening to Evergreen Media Network.